It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and yesterday I wore that dinosaur mask for Time About the Movies flashback, and it was so sweaty, my hair got all messy, that I just decided to go ahead and shave it all off. I'm of course kidding. I went to get my hair cut earlier today, so that's why my hair looks radically different than it did yesterday. But you kind of figured that already. It's been a couple months since I needed to get my hair cut, so that's why I wanted to open it like that. But that's not why you're here. You're here to hear me talk about the movies of May 19th, 2006. We got three notable movies in particular, one based off a controversial bestseller, one based off a very funny comic strip that was completely given the DreamWorks animation treatment, and one featuring WWE wrestler Kane. But before we get to those movies, of course, we got to get to the biggest new release of the weekend, and there's no bigger new release than the controversial theatrical version of the controversial best-selling novel that has a surprisingly stacked talent all across the board here. We'll talk more about that once I show you the teaser trailer for The Da Vinci Code. I mean, that's one way to sell your movie. Have this teaser play in front of Revenge of the Sith, where everybody's going to go see it. Oh, no joke, this trailer came out a year before the movie actually did. They put it up in front of Revenge of the Sith. It literally was 1 year to the day of this movie's release date, because this comes out on May 19th of this year. That trailer came out on the same day that Revenge of the Sith did in theaters, and it worked. The movie was a massive hit in general, but of course that also helps the fact that this is based off the best-selling book of the same name. And in this movie, you have Tom Hanks playing Robert Langdon, who's a professor of religious sciences from Harvard University, and is the prime suspect in the grisly and unusual murder of Louvre creator Jacques Sonari. And on the body, the police find a disconcerting cipher and start an investigation. Landon escapes with the assistance of a police cryptologist played by Audrey Tautou, and they begin a quest for the legendary Holy Grail. Just because. Sir Leigh Teabing, a noted British Grail historian, tells them that the actual Holy Grail is actually encoded in Leonardo da Vinci's wall painting The Last Supper, and searching for the Grail is a secret cabal within Opus Dei, an actual prelature of the Holy See, which wished to keep the true Grail a secret to prevent the destruction of Christianity. This is a weird book indeed, and people bought into it. I remember seeing the books out there. I, of course, never read them, but yeah, they somehow turned that into this National Treasure Indiana Jones type of adventure, which was dealt with a lot of controversy at the time because, like the book itself, it was controversial because it was met with a lot of criticism by the Catholic Church because of the accusations that it is behind a 2,000-year-old cover-up concerning what the Holy Grail really is, and the concept that Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene were married, producing a daughter, as well as its treatments of the organizations of Priority of Zion and Opus Dei, and many members of those used them to try to boycott the film. And I do remember driving past the theater, and there were some boycotts. Not a lot, but there were some, which was very surprising when I saw that driving by on the way over to Walmart one day back in 2006. But yeah, this is a weird movie based off of a really weird book. Not just for the material itself, but the stars that they have involved in here. You mean Tom Hanks, you've got Ian McKellen. You have a cast that also includes Alfred Molina, Paul Bettany, Jean Reno, Audrey Tautou. This was written by Akiva Goldsman, who did A Time to Kill. And then you have Ron Howard directing this movie, which all these pieces really do not seem like a movie that should come to this. A movie that all this does not feel like a film that should come from all these people that are coming in here. And yeah, while the film was a massive hit, mostly because of the book's success, this film was not well received by critics. In fact, it was largely panned by critics, and yet it still made a ton of money. And Ron Howard said, I like making these movies. I'm going to keep making more of them, because he did two other sequels to this with Tom Hanks involved, so take that for what you will. But really, when I finally got around to seeing this, I never got it. I never got the whole appeal of this movie in general. This is like, I didn't like National Treasure, but at least National Treasure was made for kids in mind. This is supposed to be made for adults, and the extreme levels that they go to make this movie try to be entertaining and be like a summer blockbuster just goes completely out the door really quickly. And it's just once you get to the point where you're supposed to find out the big secrets overall, it's just like, really, is this what we're doing is this what we're doing at this point? Because this thing just gets really boring really fast. And Tom Hanks, man, he usually was a reliable actor here, making only a few very few mistakes in terms of movies he makes, but this is definitely one of those ones where it's like, yeah, you're not really putting your all into this, man. You just took this because of the paycheck, and I expect a lot more from Tom Hanks in particular. I expect a lot more from him as an actor, not to take a role like this, but if there was something appealing to it, then maybe that I would say it's probably entertaining, but I never got the appeal of these movies. This was a film that was just kind of like, yeah, I can't buy into this. Like, it's trying to take itself way too seriously when it's source material when it's material that it's working with here sounds really, really stupid in the long run. And sure enough, yeah, this is not a very good movie overall. This is not an enjoyable film whatsoever. It's a pretty lame film, and in fact, most of these movies in here are pretty lackluster overall, and they just feel unnecessary to turn them into these action blockbuster films when they're nothing like that whatsoever. It's an overall boring film. I really didn't like it a lot, so yeah. Hard skip on the Da Vinci Code. Now, if you want a good movie that came out this weekend, that's our next movie, the animated feature from DreamWorks, and that is Over the Hedge. So Over the Hedge, of course, is the latest film from DreamWorks Animation. This is based off of a comic strip of the same name, which, from what I've been told, radically takes a lot of liberties with the comic strip material. In fact, from what I remember, a lot of the material from the comic strips is not in here. But then again, that really, if the movie is good enough, you can let it slide. And this is definitely a really good film. And you have a story that's set in Indiana where you center around a raccoon named RJ, voiced by Bruce Willis, who's forced to deliver food to a bear named Vincent, played by Nick Nolte, who, surprisingly enough, is actually based off of Tom Cruise's villain character Vincent from the movie Collateral. I'm not even kidding about this. You can read this up online and find out for yourself, but that is the actual reason why he's named Vincent in this. But, after accidentally destroying a stockpile of food, whereupon he manipulates a family of woodland animals led by Gary Shandling, who have recently awakened from hibernation, into helping him steal food in order to speed up the process. These animals have no idea that they built this entire suburb in their area where they used to have all their food and all that, and the rest of the movie is just watching these characters trying to get as much food from the humans as they can, and the movie just really is incredibly well done. It's extremely funny, a top-tier voice cast, not just including Willis and Shanley, but Steve Carell, William Shatner, Wanda Sykes, Avril Lavigne, Nick Nolte, Allison Janney, Thomas Hayden Church, just a ton of great talents involved in here. And they do carry a lot of the load of the film. This is a really, really funny movie with a lot of great animation, a lot of chaotic fun animation that you expect from DreamWorks Animation. And this is just a really, really solid, enjoyable, entertaining film all the way through. It's a very funny, beautifully animated film. Just a ton of things about it I really like a lot. And yeah, it's a wonderful film, absolutely hilarious, really good, very underrated, honestly, too, because it was a hit when it came out, but it wasn't as big as something like Shrek or Madagascar was, and has been kind of largely forgotten ever since DreamWorks made a lot of other movies since this time. But it's definitely one you might want to give another shot at, because it is a really, really funny movie. It's a really well-made film. Can't recommend it enough. Over the Edge. So let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie that we have here, and that is See No Evil. The first official major release from the WWE as a film company, and you have Kane, of course, starring in it. Of course, Kane is a professional wrestler in the WWE. And when investigating a call in an abandoned house, Officer Frank Williams and a rookie find a woman brutally blinded, but they are attacked by a huge psychopath with an axe. The rookie is killed, and Frank shoots the criminal in the head, but he has a severed arm. 4 years later, the mutilated Frank is relocated, working as a guard in the county detention center. Frank goes with some delinquents to the Blackwell Hotel, an abandoned place since the fire burnt the last 2 floors, with the purpose of cleaning the location, preparing it to work for a shelter for the homeless. In return, the criminals will have sentences reduced. During the night, one inmate is captured by the deranged serial killer, Jacob Goodnight, collecting the eyes of his victims. So yeah, this is very much a body mutilation type of film, and not a very good one overall. It's just about as standard of a slasher movie as you can get, and not even a good slasher movie in general. And this just feels like a film that the WWE probably is proud of, because like most of their stuff, it's pretty fake, and unlike some of their stuff that is entertaining, this really is not. And you have a movie that just really feels empty overall. It's not an engaging film. It's not an entertaining film. The kills aren't that interesting. You just want to see these characters that you see here are nothing that impressive whatsoever. They're stock characters in horror movies. The bad guy's not even not memorable of a villain anyway, and it's just not a very good movie. It's just a really bland film. Nothing exciting, nothing engaging, nothing interesting about it. I didn't like it, so yeah, a hard pass on See No Evil. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and we'll wrap May up on the next episode with 2 movies on Memorial Day weekend. The biggest one, of course, being the 3rd installment of the X-Men series, this time directed by Brett Ratner, X-Men 3, The Last Stand, and probably something even more scary than that to some people, Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, the documentary that went on to win an Oscar later that year for Best Documentary. We'll take a look at those 2 movies on the next episode. That'll be coming up tomorrow. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and notify so you get updates on when new videos come out, because we post here every day. So with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.